Hey guys, it's Sabrina, and today we're going to be filming the last installment in the Boy Genius Book Club. If you haven't been following along, I've been filming videos reading the book suggestions of Boy Genius members. So I've done 2 for Phoebe Bridgers and 1 for Lucy Dacus. This is the last video, at least until I decide to film more videos with their book recommendations, which I could see happening. But this video is going to be focusing on Julien Baker's favorite books, and I have 4 books I'm going to be reading this week. None of them do I know what they're about. So the first book is Cherry. Then we have, I can't say this name for the life of me, The Incendiaries, I think, The God of Small Things, and Stay and Fight. Stay and Fight I'm definitely going to be saving for last because this is a book that all the members of Boy Genius supposedly love. So I figured it would be a good one to be like the finale. I think the first book that I'm going to start with is Cherry. Now, I don't know anything about this book or any of these books really. I just know that Julien has suggested them. So let's read what Julien said about this book and then I'll get started reading it. About Cherry, Julien said, "This is not a gentle book, which is what I like about it. I'm already tripping over my words. Walker employs the brutality one associates with novels that deal with in the realms of warfare, addiction, and poverty, and tempers that with a precision that pulls each routine atrocity out of the overwhelming and into the tangible and familiar." The little I do know about this is that it has to do with addiction. That's all I've got. So I'm going to sit down, I'm going to start reading this, and I will update you once I have a synopsis. See you soon. Hi guys, I'm here to give you an update on Cherry by Nico Walker. So essentially in the first chapter of this book, you're following our main character who shoots up heroin, almost dies from it, and then after that goes and robs a bank. So lots of stuff happening here in the first chapter. After that, the book goes back a period of time and you're following the main character when he first meets his girlfriend, when he signs up for the army and then is deployed to Iraq. Because this takes place in like 2004, 2005, I think. And from then on, it's just been talking about his time in Iraq. It's talking a lot about guns and spending time on military bases and doing random military things. So I don't know. The one that I really have is that this is just such a different book from what I normally read. Like, it's such a guy book. I don't mean that in the sense of like only guys will like this, but I mean it more so like this is such a male main character written by a man. Like, he's constantly just thinking out like wanting to have sex with his girlfriend. Like, he's constantly getting into like fist fights with people, and it's just like you can feel the testosterone, right? Like emanating from the pages. That is not the kind of thing I'm usually reading. So I guess this is like a fun little experiment for me to see how much I like it. Unfortunately, I'm not loving it. It's not like a terrible book, but I do have to like keep making myself pick it up over and over again. It's not coming like naturally that I just want to keep reading it. I do think this is a really interesting pick for Julien, but I'll get into that a little bit later. And for now, I'm just gonna keep reading, and I'll see you when I finish the book to give you my final thoughts. Hello. I have finished Cherry by Nico Walker, and I don't have much to say about it, other than I really didn't like it. Like, kind of almost hate it, to be honest, which is a shame, because the books I read for Phoebe and Lucy's videos, like, the bulk of them I really enjoyed. But this, oh god, like, it makes me scared to read the rest of the novels for this video. Like, as I said before, it's just so masculine. And, oh my god, I keep stepping on things, stop! My room's a mess. Anyway, it's just so masculine. And at first I was like, whatever. But as time went on, it was just like, okay, this isn't just masculine, like, this is straight up misogynistic. Like, the way that the female characters are being treated and the way that the male protagonist thinks about the female characters, it's just gross to read after a certain point. He's also throwing around, like, the R word a lot, which I just don't like. And, like, I get it. I get what he's doing. I still just don't enjoy the act of reading it because of those things. And it was just so hard to get through. Like, honestly, the last, how many pages? The last, like, 50 pages or so, I just skimmed. So I'm not even really sure how this book ended because I was just reading a couple of sentences based off of every page. But I just could not make myself read this anymore. It was torture. And I was suffering. It's just like the same shit over and over. Like, yeah, he goes to Iraq, and I couldn't even understand what was happening when he was in Iraq because he's using so many like abbreviations for things, and he was like throwing in so many random like soldiers' names and stuff that I just could not follow along whatsoever. And I was excited when he went back to America because I was like, okay, like this is where he starts robbing banks and he starts being like addicted to heroin, so maybe things will pick up. But no, it's just like he runs out of heroin and then he has to buy it from this guy, and then he gets pills from this guy, and they're low on money but they have money from this, and then they buy pills and drugs, and I get it. Like, and maybe that's part of the point, to show kind of like how mundane it is at the same time, but my god is it boring to read about. I just did not want to spend my precious moments of my life with this book. And I'm never going to get back the time that I spent reading this. It has such a nice cover. Like, I love the skull. I love the text. I love all of it. But the book is just awful. I think the most interesting part about this book is that it's like semi-autobiographical. I can't say this fucking word. Semi-autobiographical. Because essentially, like, the author himself went to Iraq, and then when he came back, he got addicted to heroin and was robbing banks, and he's in jail right now. And what happened is he was like profiled in a BuzzFeed video or something, and then as a result of that, the publisher actually approached him and asked him to write a book based off of his experiences. So I think that's really cool, and I love the whole like supporting convicted felons because he's gonna get out of jail soon, and like we treat people who have been in jail like shit. So like I like that he has a revenue source kind of. He's working on another book about incarceration. Maybe that one will be more interesting. But based off of how much I disliked this one, I don't know if I even want to pick that up. I'm just so scared to continue on with this reading challenge. So the next one I'm gonna pick up, I think I'm gonna go with The Incendiaries by R.O. Kwong. I don't really know what this is about. I'm just hoping it's better than Cherry, because I'm getting rid of that book as soon as I can. That was an awful book to get through. I can't even explain how much I disliked it. So I'm gonna start this book. It's a short book. Hopefully I'll get through it and it won't be as bad as that one. Please pray for me. Hello, I'm about 96 pages into The Incendiaries. I keep struggling with that name. I'm gonna get it eventually. But I figured it was time to give you a little bit of an update, and I also realized that I forgot to tell you what Julien had said about this book, so let me pull that up real quick. About this book, Julien said, "This book is about a cult. It's so fascinating to me, and I think Kwon does a really good job of illustrating this, how when you get right down to it, really anybody can be in a cult. I mean, look at the Capitol insurgents. Those people are motivated by a belief system that has long ago departed from anything you could consider rational, and which is now basically a mixture of emotional manipulation and propaganda." Okay, so first off, right off the bat, I gotta say that this book is so much more interesting than Cherry, which, thank the Lord. So far it's following three main people, Phoebe, Will, and John. John is like this kind of mysterious figure. He was in a gulag in North Korea at some point, or supposedly he says he was. And he has started this like group, which at the point where I'm at, you don't really know much about it yet. So far, essentially, Phoebe has started to join the group. So she's been attending meetings at John's house, and John is getting her to talk about the death of her mother and just really personal stuff. Will is someone who grew up very, very, very religious. Like, he went to a Bible school. It was like his entire life. And he recently lost his faith and is now attending a college in, I don't even know. In my mind, it's like in the Northeast, like New England or something. I'm not really sure where the location of it is now that I'm actually thinking about this. But anyway, so he goes to a school in New England, I think. And that's where he meets Phoebe, and they start to have a relationship, and then Will has to go to Beijing for like a job during college, during the summer. And while he's there is when Phoebe starts attending these meetings with John. So I know from Julien's description that this book is about a cult, so I'm assuming, I have strong feelings at least, that John is the cult leader. And I'm really excited to see where this goes from there. I really like books about extremism and cults and stuff like that, so this sounds right up my alley. I'm liking it so far. I will say, well, first of all, I want to say the writing is incredible. Like, it really packs a punch. but it's also like you really have to pay attention to it, so you're kind of like savoring the book as you're reading it. Although at the same time, I do feel like plot-wise, it's been a little slow. Like, I'm 100 pages in and barely anything has happened other than Phoebe and Will getting together. Saphira, you're blocking everything. She says hi. But barely anything has happened other than Phoebe and Will, like, getting to know each other and starting to, like, be with each other. And they just really met John. And that stuff's just happening. I don't have like too much to say right now other than I really like the writing and I'm excited to see where it goes, and it's definitely better than Cherry so far. I moved Saphira and then she sat exactly where I moved her from. What are you doing? She doesn't like being told what to do. I love you. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now, and I'll see you soon with another update. See ya. Hello, I have finished The Incendiaries by R.O. Kwon, so let's talk about it a little bit. I gave you the synopsis last time, and I think I was talking about how not much was really happening, and that's my main issue with this book. Like, it's an exciting premise having to deal with a cult and everything that goes along with that, like, kind of the slow descent into extremism I thought was really interesting, but it just takes so long to get there. Like, I was on page 100 the last time I updated you, and it still wasn't doing anything interesting. The bulk of the book was really just about Will and Phoebe's relationship, which isn't my kind of thing to read about, to be honest. So I think that's why I didn't enjoy it too much. I did like the book overall, though. Like, I'm giving this 3 stars. I really loved the writing. I saw some people on Goodreads calling it pretentious, but I do not agree. I thought it was beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. But I do think there is a certain, like, distance that the writing creates from the characters. Just the way that it's kind of formatted. So I think that also prevented me from getting like totally immersed in the story. But overall, I still did like the writing. And again, like, I like the story. I like the slow descent into extremism. I liked that part. It just took so long to get there, which is another critique I have. I just think it was very slow going, and most of the action when it happened like off screen. So that was even a little bit disappointing because it felt like you're reading this super slow build up, but then you don't really get to see the payoff. I did kind of like how the book ended on a mysterious note, though. I thought that was interesting. And the one other thing I really want to point out about this book is that there is a sexual assault scene, if that's something that triggers you, and you do read about it like as it's happening. And I don't really like how she talked about that in the book. The way, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's kind of treated just as like a minor oopsie versus like the actual horrible life-changing thing that sexual assault is. And it's not given the proper weight. I think this might be on purpose because of the character's POV that you're reading it from, but I still didn't like that. And I still think that it could have been handled a bit better. I mean, there are other things in the book that do give weight to it, like how the victim reacts and stuff, but overall, I just didn't like how the POV talked about it. So that's something to note if you are going into this, if you do want to read this. Again, 3 stars. I liked it, but I do think I'd have some trouble recommending it because I do think you need some patience with it. That's my thoughts. Next, I'm going to be picking up The God of Small Things. This book was actually on my TBR, and that's the reason I did this video this month. So this is a historical fiction book following a family in India, and that's all I know, and that's all I want to know going into it. But other than that, let's read what Julien had to say about it. So Julien actually recommended this book when she was talking about another book as well, so I'll just read the whole thing. It mentions Exit West, though. I'm not reading that for this video. I've already read it, and I really liked it. Anyway, she says, I love Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. It's a magical realism retelling of the refugee experience, where people find these magical doors that transport them to another country. I'd say it was an allegory for the refugee crisis, but I never want to impose my own interpretation of it. I feel the same as when I read Arundhati Roy, who wrote The God of Small Things. They go one step beyond an empirical, perfunctory analysis of the situation, which can be useful but a little dry, and instead they present you a problem in all its humanness. So instead of an anthropological discussion of how we create communities, why we exclude people, and why we fear threats to the status quo, it tells you a story that illustrates those things in an implicit way. And actually, Lucy Dacus has also recommended this book as well, so I'll just read her little thing too, because it is a Boy Genius Book Club. Lucy said, this is a beautiful, complex, captivating story and setting. Can you describe a book as humid? It's thick with color and feeling, love and confusion. These things make me excited to pick it up. I just it's a mixed bag so far, Julian Baker's favorite books. Cherry was not a win. The Incendiaries was good, but not that good. So let's hope that the books just get better as I go on, you know? Like, 2 stars or 3 stars, hopefully this is 4, and hopefully the last book is 5 stars, because that would be great. So anyway, I'm going to get reading, and I'll let you know when I have I don't know how to speak. I'll let you know when I have a synopsis. See ya. Hello, I'm 110 pages into The God of Small Things, so I figured it was time for me to give you an update, but I actually don't have that much to say. Like, usually at this point in the video, I would give you a synopsis of what this book is about, but I don't really know what this book is about still. You're essentially following this family in India. You're mainly following, like, this pair of twins and their, like, mother and grandmother and great aunt and uncle. I don't know. I'm not even really sure how all these people are, like, connected family-wise. I just know that they are. And honestly, nothing has happened so far other than they drove to go see The Sound of Music. And when they're at The Sound of Music, the small boy was sexually assaulted. And then now they're leaving The Sound of Music. But it's like 110 pages in, so that's really not much to have happened. I know that the back says that, like, their cousin comes and then something happens that's bad. And they are talking about the cousin coming, but, like, nothing has really happened. I feel like I'm boring. Like, I feel like I'm so boring even just describing what this book is about because such little is happening. So far, I'm liking it, I guess, as much as you can like a story like that. I guess like isn't the word. So far, it's a good book. Like, the writing is really good. I can't deny that, but it's just not really pulling me in. I'm having a hard time staying concentrated to it. That could also be because I'm working, like, 2 jobs now, so I have to give myself kind of a little bit of a break for that. But yeah, I'm not loving it, even though, again, the writing is really good. Like, I wish I could find a quote or something, but I just, again, write about that small boy being sexually assaulted, and I don't want to read any of that, and none of that was, like, great quotes, obviously. I'm just rambling now. I'm just rambling. Saphira agrees that I'm just rambling, that I should shut up now. So I'm gonna get back to reading. I'll let you know when I'm finished. See ya. Please pardon every single element of how I look. I literally just got home from work and I raced upstairs to film this. I'm not done with The God of Small Things yet, but there was an exciting thing that happened. And basically, I was on page 208, and let me read you something. So basically, like I said, there's 2 twins, a boy and a girl, and in this passage, the boy twin says to his mother, "If you're happy in a dream, does that count?" And his mother says, "Does what count?" And he says, "The happiness. Does it count?" And, like, after I read that, I sat there for a minute, and I, like, was sitting with that quote, and I was like, I really like that. And then it hit me. And I remembered that's actually in one of Julien's songs. In her song, Mental Math, she starts off the song with, like, read it in a book once, can't remember where, if you're having a dream, it has to count for something. That's never happened in one of these videos before, where I saw the actual inspiration between, like, a line and a song. I thought that was so fun. Anyway, I'm not done with this, so I'm not gonna give you my thoughts, but I have about, I don't know. I just looked, too, and I couldn't do that math. That's how tired I am. I'm on page 282. There's about 320 pages. So I'm not far off, and I'm thinking I'm going to finish this tonight. But I will pop back in once I'm done to give you my final thoughts. But I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to share. So that's all for now, and I'll see you very shortly. Well, for you, it's going to be immediately. For me, it's going to be a couple hours. Goodbye. Hello, I have finally finished The God of Small Things. This book took me forever to read, and, like, I don't want to say that it's the book's fault, because at the end of the day, I think this book had beautiful, beautiful writing, like, honestly incredible, but it just wasn't for me for some reason. Like, I really agree with Lucy's description that this book is, like, really humid, just, like, lush and beautiful. And I think my main problem with it is that it's just so goddamn slow. Like, I'm actually someone who can usually read slow books and doesn't bother me, but for some reason, this one, I just could not do it. Like, I kept putting it down, I wasn't picking it back up, I was doing other things instead of reading. And, like, granted, I have been very busy, I'm working 2 jobs right now, so that could have been part of it, but I really think it was the book. So, I also feel like I did a really bad job of, like, summarizing what this book is about in the last clip. So, let me just, like, redo that a little bit. Essentially, at the beginning of the book, you find out that there's this child that dies, and the whole book is, like, leading up to that. But the problem I had with this book is that it skips timelines over and over and over, and it's not always very clear, like, what time period the current scene is taking place in. Like, you have the twins as kids, you have the twins as adults when they're reunited, you have, like, the daughter when she's in America and married, you have, like, the mother's story, you have the story of, like, all these other family members. It's just, like, I get it. I get it, and I like that they're giving all this information, but I wish it was just a bit more clear, because it felt like I was jumping around all the time, and it made me feel confused. And normally, like, that's a normal thing that happens in books, where they play with a timeline, and I can deal with it, but this one, it just wasn't working for me. So I ended up giving it 3 stars, because again, I do think it's a good book, I just think it's not a book for me personally. So that's it for this one. So we are moving on to the final book of the vlog. Let me grab it, because for some reason I did not put it up here with me. And that final book is Stay and Fight by Madeline Fitch. I have to say, I'm already over halfway through this. It's been a while since I felt like filming. In my defense, I get home from work and I'm disgusting. I don't want anyone to see me. So, let's talk about this book a little bit. But before I talk about it, let's talk about what Julien has to say about it. Okay, so both Julien and Lucy have spoken about this book. Julien said, I just recently read about this kind of clandestine queer community in rural Appalachia called Stay and Fight that I really like. It didn't give us much to go off there, Julien, but that's okay. And then Lucy said, there's a book called Stay and Fight by Madeline Fitch that is well loved within my circle of friends, but I wish more people would read it. It has a lot to do with found family, rural life, the reality of living from the land, and lesbian parenthood. Very accurate. So, I'm far enough into this that I can give you a little bit of synopsis. So essentially, you're following a main character named Helen. Helen is living in Seattle with her boyfriend. Her uncle has recently died and left her some money, and her boyfriend comes up with the idea of moving to rural Appalachia. He says that she has enough money that they can get a house there, they can kind of be living off the land, like homesteading a little bit, and he basically convinces her to uproot her life and move to the other side of the United States and begin, like, this rural existence. And shortly after they start their life anew, he leaves. And he says he's planning on coming back, but spoiler alert, this isn't a spoiler, he does not come back. She is then introduced to some other people who are living in that area, and particularly she's introduced to Lily and Karen. Now, Lily and Karen are a lesbian couple, and Lily is currently pregnant with their child. And in the beginning of the book, they're living on this land. I don't fully understand, like, the complexities of this, but essentially Karen and Lily are living on land that they can only be on if they're women. It's some sort of, like, land trust situation. And when Lily gives birth, they end up having a son. So they have to move off the land, and Helen invites them to move onto her land and build a house there with her, and they can all live together. And that's how the book begins. And I'm not going to say anything else about this book except that I'm on page 168 and I'm loving it. I really, really like this book. This is definitely the star of the video so far, because as you've seen, other books have not been great, which maybe is why, like, I'm not reading as much. But this book had me reading on my 30-minute break at work, just sitting in the back on the floor. My coworker saw me and she was like, this is iconic. But yes, I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to get back to reading it, and I will give you one final update when I'm finished with this book. See you then. I have finished the very last book for this video, and that is Stay and Fight by Madeline Fitch. Let's talk about it. This is actually a great way to end the video, because this is definitely the best book of the video. I gave this book 4 stars. I just really, really enjoyed it. And there's just so much about it that I enjoyed, but it's also really hard to pinpoint why exactly I loved this so much. I have to say, first of all, that I loved the characters in this book. They felt so real and so complex. You had, like, 4 different POVs, and it switched between them, but each POV was so distinct that you could totally tell who it was without even reading the name at the beginning of the chapter. I really liked that we got to see what the characters thought of each other in, like, similar moments. I think that was really interesting, and I really love these characters. I don't know what else to say. And as much as I'm someone who would never in my entire life try to live off of the land, because I love indoor plumbing, for one, I thought it was really interesting to learn more about how people do that. Like, I'm not sure how much I mentioned this when I was giving the summary, but they basically take it upon themselves to live off of the land as much as they can. And this means they raise their own, like, I think they raise ducks and eat them, and they're like hunting for raccoons and like other things that are in Appalachia, and that's what they eat. And they're eating like acorn flour and stuff like that. Like, they're really living off of the land as much as they can, which is really cool to read about, even though I would never I would never not even gonna think about it. Overall, I just think that the setting Appalachia is just so cool. Like, I read Demon Copperhead recently as well, which also takes place in Appalachia. A much sadder book that one is, but the land is just so important in these books. Like, it makes sense for this one, especially because they're living off of it, you know, but it's almost like a character in itself, even though it's not like personified in the book at all. But the land is just so central to the story in a really interesting way. And then lastly, I want to say that I really enjoy a lot of the commentary in this book. I did not agree with all of it, because these are people who do not agree with indoor plumbing, do not agree with their child going to school, stuff like that. I believe in the school system. I believe in indoor plumbing. You're never taking that away from me. But I really liked their critique of, like, the system, you know? Like, the characters here make sure their beliefs are known, and they're very outspoken about them. And I loved that. I really liked the points they made, especially about how poor people are treated by the legal system. And I also liked the commentary on oil and, like, pipelines. I can't get into either of those with any depth without spoiling things, so I'm not going to. But I'm free to discuss it in the comments if you'd like. And just overall, this is a great book. I really hope Fitch continues to write, because I want to read anything that she puts out. And I just think it's so interesting. I think it's such a good book. And in terms of, like, and when it comes to Julien Baker, it's interesting, right? Because, like, the only thing that's really stood out to me in these books that makes me think of Julien particularly is that quote in The God of Small Things that was in one of her songs. But this just seems to fit with her in a way that I can't really describe. Like, yes, there's the obvious, it's about a lesbian couple, and she is a lesbian, and she's also in a lesbian couple with Lucy Dacus that has been confirmed now. Not that I didn't know a while ago. I think we all know. But other than that, I don't really know how to connect it to her. It makes sense for her, right? But in a way that I can't describe. So it's great that I'm here on camera with you right now, trying to describe that, because it's just coming out as nonsense. But it makes sense. It makes sense. That's all I'm gonna say. It also makes sense for Lucy in, like, a different way. When I think of, like, Lucy in this book, I think of more, like, the community aspect of it and the beauty in that. But anyway, I'm just babbling now, so I will let you go. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books down below. If you haven't, let me know which one you'd like to read the most. And I will see you soon with another video. Goodbye!